Good evening, YouTube family. T.O. here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you with another lake breakdown for Eagle Mountain Lake. We covered Zone 1 last time for the Google Earth waypoints, and now we're looking at Zone 2. Hopefully we can get it all done with just the two different zones, but if we hit 30 minutes on this video, I'll probably cut it off and we'll break it down into 3 zones. So let's not wait any longer. Let's go ahead and jump in. Let's talk about Eagle Mountain Zone 2. Here we go. Let's get started on to Zone 2. So if you miss Zone 1, that's going to be pretty much everything on the south end of Eagle Mountain Lake. Pretty much all this stuff that you see here with the yellow icons. That's going to be Zone 1 for Eagle Mountain. So if you missed that, I'll put a link up at the top that you can click on to go back to that, or you can just go out to our YouTube channel, Simplistic Fishing, click on the Lake Breakdowns section, and that'll show you all the lake breakdowns that we did, and you can find it there. Also, you can go out to simplisticfish.square.site and you can buy an SD card or the digital file to import into your graphs. For this lake and many other lakes in the area, we'll continue to break them down. So if you have a lake that you'd like for me to break down, just let me know. I'll add it to the list and I'll get it done for you. These things make fishing so much easier. Since I started doing this, fishing just became a lot easier for me. I can identify, once I identify the pattern, I can pretty much use these points to basically take me wherever I need to be. So I've had a lot of success for it, and I'm really excited to be able to share that with you guys. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to start right here on this this ramp right here. I think I talked to you guys, the offshore hotspots, those are also included on those cards. And then for today, what we're going to do is we're going to draw this back to October of 2014. So I'm going to toggle off those markers, and then I'm going to come back here and move this back to October of 2014. So let me get us in there. We'll go 12 of 14. That'll work. December of 14. Let's start right here. So we talked about the rocks here in the last time. We talked about that little rock pile there. There is a ramp right here. So take a look at that. And then as we go up here, there's a couple different things. There's a really old ramp here with some cover on it as well. So those are always good. Another personal ramp. Not a lot going on in this bank line. You got some rock, but not too much going on. Looks like it might be fairly steep because you can tell the image is just kind of jacked up here. But if you notice, this, we talked about in the last video, there's a little bit of transition going on here. There's really nothing, right? Dirt. And then all of a sudden you're starting to see a little bit of rock. So you got a little bit of a transition going on right in here. And then as you get up here, you start getting into more piles of rocks. So here's a good rock pile that I marked for you guys. There's another good outcropping of rock right there. And another one right in here. So you'll have all those points that you can take a look at, just kind of little pockets of rock along that bank. And again, we talked about this lake last time. There's going to be some bank lines on this lake where it's just all rock. So it doesn't make any sense for me to go out and just mark every bank line that has rock. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to mark the rocks that would be more fish attracting spots. So basically what I'm looking for is I'm looking for things that are different. So if it's all the same rock, to me, yeah, that's going to be a good place to fish. But if I can find a rock pile that sticks out amongst all the other rock, that's where I'm going to go look at. Or if I can find a bank line that has just nothing but mud, and then all of a sudden there's a rock pile in the middle of it, that's definitely going to be a spot that I'm going to mark. So hopefully you guys can kind of understand how I've marked these as we go forward. So moving up here, there is some really good rock around this point. This could be riprap. It looks like it might be man-made where they put this in here, but those are always good areas to fish. And you probably got some kind of current going between here, if it's some kind of power plant or something, not sure what it is, but discharge or whatever's going on. But there's probably some sort of a current somewhere in this area. So this is probably a really good point to fish around. All right, and then moving up here, did see a couple things here. There's a rock pile that's way out here. So again, you got some scattered rock going along in this bank line, not too much, but these piles of rocks look really significant. So they would definitely be worth taking a look at and going through there. And then as we move down here, next thing you'll see is an old ramp. So you got an old ramp here and some debris here that looks like it used to be an old dock or something like that. Some old debris posts, some old dock posts as well over in here as well. So this area looks pretty good. You could hit up these rocks, then maybe go over here and flip a shaky head around or something like that, wobble head, and throw that around the ramp, get some fish there, and then maybe go over and pitch and stuff around these docks, flip and pitch around the docks, see what you can find there. So anyways, going up in here, looks like there's a fence in here, so you can't get down in this area, which I don't really like there's too much there. There could be, again, though, some current going on somewhere around in here, so maybe just off the edge of these points, you might want to look. This one especially right in here could be good if there is some type of current going on in there. All right, so then moving over here, found a couple things back in this channel. Pretty good weed line here. You can tell it's decent because you can see the shade that it's creating. So a decent little weed line there, but I didn't mark it for you. I've got so many marks on this lake, I didn't want to overcrowd your graph. Eventually you're going to hit max. So I didn't want to do that. But anyways, pretty decent weed line right there. And then back in here, you've got a couple good laydowns. So you got a real good laydown there and a good laydown here as well. And as we get further back in here, you got a pretty decent little creek channel that goes in here. So I mark that. It looks like it has some decent depth to it. And then right on the bend of this creek channel on the outside edge, you can't see it because I've got my marker here. Let me see if I can move this marker for you guys. You can see it. There's actually rock right in here. So pretty much you got no rock, weeds, just weeds and a decent creek channel. But right here, you got some rocks. You're going to get some shade and somewhere that they can hide around right in there. So that can be a good little area to take a look at. And if you look at this when the water's more at full pool, that creek channel is not as obvious. So you kind of, you might think it goes up here. You don't really know. But anyways, if you follow those lines, there's probably going to be some sort of a break or something there. And those are going to be good areas to fish, especially on those bends. So right here and right up in here are probably going to be your prime spots to find the fish. So I'm going to move this back to 12 and 14 so we can keep going. So I'm going to keep moving out of this pocket. And the next thing that I found was this little rock pile here, right on this little secondary point. And you kind of see it just barely. But again, if the lake was at full pool, you'd have no idea that rock pile was out there. So that one looks pretty good, definitely. I like how it sets up in there. So definitely worth taking a look at that one. And then let's keep moving up. Again, this bank line, you're kind of getting that sandy kind of weed crap. Not a lot of good stuff to fish around here, at least in my opinion. Now, are there fish here? Probably, but we're looking for hot spots. And so the next hot spot that I really found was right in here. And you guys have heard me talk about it a lot, about pinch points. If you can find pinch points, places where the fish can really kind of narrow them in. I mean, think about a dog when it herds sheep and it's trying to push it all into this little bitty funnel, right? So it just keeps pushing it into the funnel and pushing into the funnel, and then eventually they go in the gate. Well, imagine sitting right in that funnel and just waiting for those fish to come in here. So they're going to start that migration, and the bass are going to sit right there and just wait for them, so they can pinch them into these points and really have a heyday on them. So always look at these pinch points. I don't know if that was a good explanation, but just try to think of it that way, as all of these fish kind of being forced into one section. If they're forced in that section, the bass are smart. They're going to go right to that section and wait for them to come to them, which is going to happen in situations like this where you've got a really good area here and then you've got a real nice pinch point. You can find those throughout the lake, especially on pond dams and things like that. Those are really, really frequent areas. All right, so I'm off of that topic. Let's keep moving on. We're going to keep moving up the bank line. It's pretty decent stuff in here. I don't see anything too crazy. I like these little points and like this little hump, but didn't see too many things that I really wanted to mark for you guys. There were a couple things back in here, behind this dock back in here. There's some pretty decent rock. And when you pull it up, when the lake has a little bit more water, that rock's you can still see it, but it looks like it's got some decent depth to it. So it might be worth going back there and taking a look at that. And let's move this back to 2014 again. And if we get up in here, there's a laydown right here in this little corner. So right here, you got two decent laydowns right in there. So you crappie fishermen, be a good place to look. But again, if the crappie are there, the bass are there. So always look at those crappie spots as well. Got a decent little point out here, but I don't see any rock off of it or anything like that. Things that I like to fish around. Not saying this point wouldn't be good. I'm sure it is at some point in time. All points are good. But anyways, I didn't see anything there to mark for you guys. Now coming over here, lots of different ramps. This is like kind of like Cedar Creek right here, right? You got a lot of personal ramps. So not a lot of rock or laydowns or brush piles or anything like that are good fish attracting things that we think about, but there are all of these ramps. So you've heard me say it 1,000 times. I'm going to continue to say it. That ramp pattern is effective. And if you can get on the ramp pattern at the right time, especially during like bluegill spawn and things like that, that ramp pattern can be very magical. And it's so easy if you have the card, because you can just follow it. You guys saw us do that on Louisville Lake and it worked great. Unfortunately, it didn't work that well once we actually got into the tournament. Kind of sucked it up there and only caught like 6 pounds. But anyways, this is the right pattern to run at certain times of the year. So don't ignore it. Take advantage of it. Sometimes it can really, really be a great day. So then moving on in here, we got more of that. So right, you got the 2 ramps back in here. There is some rock right off of this little point right in here. You can just barely see it, but you got a little rock pile here, some right in here, and I guarantee that's a good spot to fish. Now, if we move over in here, back in this area, got a little more rock right in here, not too much going on, but that looks like some kind of a hard spot. So maybe not rock, but concrete, something's going on there. Maybe it's a drainage ditch. You can't tell what it is, but it's some type of a hard spot. And it looks like they could set up around it to ambush bait. So we'd definitely take a look at that. And there's also some shallower rock back in here. So maybe your square bills, things like that, kind of got it scattered along this bank line. All right, so I'm going to keep moving up. A couple more things here. We did find a ramp right in here. Also another ramp over in here. And then out off at this point, which you don't see too much of it on this lake, because I guess it's so deep, but there's actually some standing timber that's out here. So you can see it. It's kind of just in this little area right in here. But I like how that timber's off of that point. We'll have to look at it on the offshore hotspots, but if that has any type of break or something like that, this could be a really good area to look at. So take a look at that, because there's not any other cover in the area, right? You got some of these weed lines up here and things like that they could be attracted to, but other than that, there's no rock. There's just not a lot going on in this area except for that standing timber, so they could definitely be attracted to that. Now, as we get up in here, again, you've got these good weed lines. So if you're pounding the bank, and you're not having any success up here, let's say that you're out here fishing, you're just pounding away on this bank line, it might not hurt to back off and find the edge of this and fish the edge of that, because that's probably where your fish are, especially like right now, this time of year in July. You might be better off, if you're going to pound the bank and you like pounding the bank, you might be better off getting up here and casting this way. And you're going to think I'm crazy, but sometimes that does work. But really what you should do is, if you have finders, just back off, get out here and fish right down this line. And you're going to have a lot more success that way. Unless they're up here in the brush and it's all flooded or something like that. But let's take a look at that real quick while we're talking about that, because I think it'll make a huge impact to you. And to me, it made a big impact to me when I moved here from Missouri down to Texas, is really understanding that the breaks are just a lot different here. They're not what we're accustomed to as, I guess you wouldn't really call me a northerner in Missouri, but a lot more northern than what you see here. So let's just take a look at this, for example. This image isn't coming across very good, but if you were out here pounding this bank right in here, you would have no idea that there's a weed line right back in here that's probably where all your fish are at. So you're literally up here pounding this bank line and the fish are laughing at you because they're right here behind the boat. So make sure to look at those types of things. And I think that's where this Google Earth really comes in handy, because you're not going to go out there and scan forever and try to find that. But if you know it's there, you will. And so, this one sets up good. It's off the side of the point, and it's got a really good line there. So they don't have the contours and the breaks here, but they got something to set up on. So anyways, just wanted to share that with you, because I think that's something that I kind of figured out throughout my couple years of being here, and found that on a couple different lakes, that if you can find those weed lines that are further out, you'll have a lot more success. So take advantage of that stuff. Then I'm going to keep moving on up. Again, not too much going on these shorelines and things, but a couple things here. You've got 3 different ramps right here. So you got 3 personal ramps. These all look good. Got a little interesting little point here. I don't know if we marked that one or not, but again, the thing that disappoints me about these points and the ones that we're talking about is there's just no cover on, no structure, nothing. They're just kind of flat and just muddy and no rocks, so they disappoint me. But as we get up here, we do have some rock here on a little man-made point. And then we got another ramp here. And then always when you're fishing around marinas, those are always good areas to fish. If you just have a day to fish the lake and you don't want to spend your whole day running around spending, 10,000 gallons of fuel and $100, you literally can just pick a marina and just focus on that marina. The marina is going to hold fish. So go in here and, maybe fish around this marina, fish around this rock on the outside edges, fish around this pinch point right in here. Even though you got boat traffic that comes in here, it's okay. Still go in there and fish that. It could be good. Some more rock in here. You also got an airplane. Second time I've caught that on a Google image. It's pretty cool. And then moving up in here, I didn't see too much back in this little cove, just kind of muddy blah cove, but you do have a really good creek channel that comes back here. So I marked that for you guys. And notice the break that this creek channel makes. You even got some shade lines right in here. See those? You've also got some more back in here, some really good shade with a decent creek channel around the bend. So these are good places to look. Definitely follow those creek channels, look back in there, especially if you like this shallow type fishing. You've also got some laydowns out here, or a laydown. Looks like there might be another one right here. This is just out in the middle of nowhere, right? So those are good spots, because It's just one laydown out in the middle of nowhere. You can check it really fast. If it has fish on it, fish it. If it doesn't have fish on it, bail and move on to the next spot. All right, so moving on here, I'm gonna keep going up. In pretty decent little point there, but you see the top of it, it's just bare, just nothing there. And then here, we've got some additional rocks right around this dock as well. So you got rocks here on the side and here. This again looks totally different if you bring the water up. It's gonna look a lot different than what it does here when we have the water drawn down. So let's take us back to, well, I can't even get my times right here. I'll take us back to where we were. So we're gonna get back in here and then move it up in this area. There is I couldn't tell if this was a pond dam or if they just dug it out and it made it look like a pond, but it kind of looks like a pond. So I'm calling it a pond. And so right here is your little pond dam area right in there. And there's that little pinch point that we continue to talk about. Now also notice here, you got some pretty good ledges going on right in here. And I know that, the guys up north are like, yeah, right, that's not a ledge. That's just like a little bitty drop, but it's a drop. It's a ledge to me. You can see shade around it, so there's something there. So this little area here looks interesting to me for sure. And if you move up here, you kind of got the same thing, right? You got this all dug out with these really big ledges right in here. And I can totally see them setting right against those ledges. So take a look at those spots. Now coming up here, we got another plain point. Not much going on back in this. This is all kind of dug out and nasty looking. I mean, you might have some luck on the seawall. See how it creates that nice shade line there? But I don't even know if I'd waste my time going back in there. And watch, that's probably the honey hole for the lake or something like that. But anyways, I'm gonna keep moving up here. This is all pretty shallow, as you can see. But right out here, you got some pretty good cover. So I went ahead and marked that. I can't tell what that is, if that's stumps, if that's willows, I don't know what it is, but it's some type of cover and there's not a lot of it throughout this whole area. So definitely a good spot to look at. Got a little island out here too, but again, not a lot of cover on that island. So then moving on back in here, a couple more things I wanted to show you back here. We got some laydowns. This is interesting. It was like it changed. Everything changed from rock to more of this mud. And all of a sudden we started to find a few laydowns. There aren't a ton of laydowns or brush piles that I could find, but I was able to find a few, especially on this side of the lake. So you got a laydown here, one here as well. So you really got three in this little pocket. You got pretty good weed lines in here too. See these? Little triangle here, back here. Decent one up here. Really good right in this area. And then pretty decent little channel that they've cut out. And then if you get way far back in here, there's some big laydowns back in here. You've got some rock back in here, some more laydowns, a couple more back in here. I don't know how deep this is, if this is worth going back and fishing, but I mean, when you look it up and you move the year up and you pull the lake up, it looks like you should be able to go back there and access it. And that laydown's pretty far out in the water, so that would be really good, especially for you crappie fishermen. And then again, there's a ramp over here as well. So I'm going to keep moving on up. We got another ramp over here. And then as we move on up, we've got some additional rock out here. So there's no rock in the area anywhere. And then all of a sudden you find some right here by this dock. So that would be worth checking out for sure if you're fishing up on this side of the lake. Also, if you're up here, check this out. Another one of those pinch points. This might be an old pond, possibly like a shallower pond, but you've got a really nice pinch point right in this area. Then as we keep moving up, we're going to get further up here. We got a couple different things up here. We got two different ramps. Then as we get further up here, we got a pretty decent little creek channel. Let me see if I can get this back. I think it might show it even better. Yeah, there we go. Shows a little bit better here, but a pretty defined little creek channel going on in here. Now you got to be careful because I don't know what this is right here. So you might have to go out, if you're getting into this creek channel, you might have to go out this way. Come around and go this way. But if you do come in here, just be extremely careful. Know that this stuff is right in here. It looks like there's some kind of line or something keeping you from going that way anyways. But anyways, just check it out. I don't even know if you can come back here and fish with that being back there, but there is a good creek channel that's back here and then some rock and stuff like that. So definitely worth taking a look at. There's also some kind of pile that was back in here that I saw. See if I can draw this back to a different image that doesn't have that on there. So if you look back in here, which this is weird, those things were there earlier. Now they're gone. But my guess is just be careful. You go back in there and see if they're back in there. But there is a little brush pile back in here and then more rock pile back in here as well. This is all really shallow. You can tell it's got a lot of grass and stuff in it. I don't know if this is grass or just weeds or what it is, but it looks like there's some grass back in here. There's a ramp back in here as well, and a couple more over here too. But again, just not too much going on. I like this. I like all this grassy stuff. It's always good places to fish. But this area up in here, there's not too much going on other than all these ramps. Just a ton of ramps. Not a lot of rock or anything like that, just a lot of ramps. And this is shallow too by just looking at these boat docks. See how long their walkways are? Anytime you go to a dock that's got a super long walkway, that's when you know that's going to be some pretty shallow water. So we're also going to go up here. There's a ramp up here. And again, we're getting into some pretty shallow stuff up here. So I don't know if we would go up here and fish or not, but I went ahead and marked it for you guys in case you're out there and maybe you can go up here. If you can, these can be really good areas. Nice little creek channel going up here. See where I've marked it. And again, if you're going to fish these creek channels, focus on the bends. Focus here, focus on these bends, focus on this little Y right here where it splits off, or maybe around this little corner or right in there, that little junction. So always look for those little bends. But again, a lot of stuff underneath the water. Can't tell what it is, but some type of vegetation. And then as we move down here, we get into Ramp City. And that's just basically, I didn't see any rocks here, but just tons of ramps. So I've marked each one of those ramps for you guys so you can see them. Again, I think we're getting into some shallower water right in here as well, because you can see how long these walkways are for those docks. So we get down in here, not seeing too much rock or anything again, but more ramps. So literally, if you got on the ramp pattern on this lake, you could have an absolute heyday because there's plenty of spots where there's just a bunch of ramps and they're kind of just grouped together, which makes it really, really easy if you were on that pattern. So as we move on down here, did find some rock right up here off this point. So you can see it here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't get too screwed up here, but there is some shallower rock right in this area, so that'd be worth taking a look at. And then as we move down here, there's another ramp. There's some debris that's out here in the water. I don't know if this is an old boat dock or what. You can see some right in here. You can definitely see the old pillars from what used to be a boat dock. And those are really good if you want to flip a little creature bait around them. A lot of times you'll be able to catch fish around those standing pylons. You got a ramp back in here as well. And then I'm going to keep moving down. We got another ramp here. Then 3 more right here on this edge. So again, when we see these ramps, they're usually grouped together. Like here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Heck, I don't know, 15, 20 ramps right here in just this area. You can see them all, just ramp after ramp after ramps. Again, not a lot of rock around these docks. Even if I zoom in, you'll see there's just not a lot of rock or anything around them. No brush piles, no rocks, no good stuff, but they all have ramps, and the ramps would be the good thing for the bass to hang out with. So I guess it's a good thing they don't have the brush piles, because if the bass are there, they're going to relate to that harder structure, which is going to be those ramps. So you've just got a lot of them here. Ramps, some shallow rock around this point, but again, just a lot of ramps. A lot of ramps here and more here. And then I think here in a minute, we're actually going to get out of Rampville, but we're in more ramps here. And then finally, when we get down here by this dock, there's a little bit of rock you can start to see happening. You can see a little bit right in here and a little bit right in here, some pretty decent little boulders and things like that you can fish around. And it looks like we've got about 2 more minutes, so I'm going to back out really quick and see how close we are. We are nowhere close, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video right here on this point. And what we'll do is we'll come back with another video. We'll call it Zone 3. We'll break down the rest of the lake basically from this point right here all the way down to here, right in this area. We'll finish it up, and that'll be a wrap for Eagle Mountain as far as the Google Earth waypoints. And then we'll switch over and do one more video, and we'll talk about the offshore hotspots. So appreciate you guys subscribing. We are growing like crazy. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers, which is shocking. I didn't know that you guys would love this much, but can't tell you enough how much I appreciate the support. Please share this with family and friends. Let everyone know, hey, we got a really good recipe to help you guys catch more fish. And again, thank you so much for all the support. Until next time, hope you catch your PB. Take care.